Okay, so we're gonna get started on these ball joints. I've got my electric grinder, and then I borrowed this ball joint removal and install kit from work. As you can see, it's got a bunch of different adapters, some homemade ones we've used, different pusher plates and whatnot. The upper ball joint should be able to just be removed by cutting out these rivets. There's actually 2 rivets and a bolt. We'll get them cut and we should be able to take that upper ball joint out no problem. The bottom one is pressed in, so we'll get the boot and everything stripped off it and get it pressed out of there. So we'll start by cutting out these 2 side rivets here. There's one, and of course, the battery's dead now on the grinder, so we can get started with this bolt on the back here. Might have to pop this boot off to be able to even feel the thing. See how this goes anyway. Oh, feels like it's coming. Look at that. There's that guy. Now we can try and knock out this rivet. Not a lot of room, but... It's starting to move a little. Fresh battery. Let's cut this other side out. There's that one. A little bit of smoke from all that grease. See if this side wants to start lifting. Let's try and get that boot out of there. Try and get this boot out of here. Ooh, lots of grease. And while we got our gloves on and we're messing with all this grease, we'll see if we can pop the boot off this bottom one as well. Which is actually a good sign that this thing had that much grease in it. Kind of comforting. There we go. The rest of that boot. Now, let's see if we can get this boot off this lower ball joint somehow. Awfully tough because it's so dirty in here. Try to keep the grease off my hammer because that's exactly how they go flying. There we go. Did all that work wearing those gloves to stay clean and then cover myself in grease anyway. But that's how it goes sometimes. I don't recall the new ones needing bolts in them, or a rivet, but this appears to be riveted on the bottom as well. So, let's cut those as well. This side cleaned off. So I'm trying to do it without gouging up the control arm very much, and I'm having some success. Not immense success, but Just gonna switch to a buffing wheel here. Might help out a little. Now, let's see how well that wants to come apart now. Okay, there's half of it. Now the other half, there we go. There's that base for the boot. Just gonna buff the rest of those rivets out of there. Now that I can see. Well, see if we can pound them out. Look at that, guys. Lower ball joint removed. I thought they were pressing. I gotta look at those other new ones. I might have the wrong lower ball joints. Alright, I put on a fresh one. See how it works. Just trying to get every bit of that rivet head off. It's moving a little, guys. It's a fight. Doesn't help that I'm not left-handed. Make that one a lot easier. There we go. That's just the bump stop. That's what goes through the hole at the rear. Hoping it'll take a little bit of pressure off for us. But that might just be wishful thinking. Here we go. Upper ball joint out. As you can see, we'll just clean that up a little bit. Clean this one up a little more maybe. And we'll just give them a little shot of spray paint and we'll get the new ones in. I just gave them a quick coat of paint here. Nothing fancy. It's not a big deal. If I want to do much more with the suspension in the future, I'll probably put fabricated arms on anyway. So, one problem though, there's apparently two different lower ball joints that this could use. There's the bolt-in style, which it had, held in by two rivets on it. Like these are the factory ball joints in this car still, with 91,000, 92,000 miles on it. 54, 55-year-old bushings. When I ordered ball joints, I ordered lower ball joints for a 66 Galaxie, not knowing there was two different styles, and I got the press-in ones, so I'm gonna have to order the right ball joints, which is kind of a pain in the butt because the ones I ordered were 63 bucks a piece, and that's for the press-in, and the bolt-in ones are like 140 a piece, so that'll be nice. Let's try and get these uppers in. Not much to it. Go. A little bit of fooling around here. One, See if we can get this bump stop in there. Alright, there's the bump stop. Put the lock washer and nut back on it as well. Maybe. It's enough of that labor. Double check them all here. We're going to go to a torque spec of FT because there we go. Look at that. There we go. A little bit of a fight, but the retainer spring is now up in place holding the boot. That's one ball joint. You don't need to watch me do the rest of them, guys. It's the exact same process. You've seen it happen here. I'm not gonna punish you like that. So next we're gonna get these bearings packed and installed. We're gonna get, well, partially installed onto the spindle. I need to get new nut kits with the nut, the washer, the retainer for the nut. So for now, we'll get the bearings and the seals in them. We'll just get them stuffed on here and we'll throw a cap on it. I'll go through one here and I'll do the second one off camera. But anyway, I got new dust caps, new bearings. There's new races in the hubs, or in these brand new hub and rotor assemblies. So I got new cones to go with the outer cups. We'll get them packed full of grease. Get our wheel seal installed, and we should be able to slide this together and just set it off to the side for now until the nut and washer kits come in. So we'll start by packing the inner bearing here, which is the larger one. You just set that in there and then just spin this tight, and then you can just spin it, keep spinning it, and it'll push the grease through your bearing. You can just hook your grease gun up to it and pump it full of grease. And that way when you squish this down, it pushes the grease in. Should be enough. Once again, we'll just tighten it down, and if everything goes right, it should fill this bearing full of grease. You can see how it pushes the grease all the way through. You want to see that all the way around. That's how you know that your bearing is actually packed full of grease. Then we'll just slide that in there. Put the seal in. Now, I don't have any here, but usually you want a flat piece, like even a big socket, or like the race install tools work really good for this. Push it in straight so that you don't mangle the lip. But as you can see, went in there really nice. We'll just manually pack this bearing. You just want to drag it across the grease in the palm of your hand like this, grabbing grease every time until you get grease bubbling out like that. You want to do that all the way around until you get the whole bearing packed full of grease. And the reason you pack a bearing is so that the metal on metal contact doesn't destroy the bearings before the grease heats up enough to get in. Because as your grease heats up, it is going to thin out and it will fill the bearing. But usually if you don't pack it, by the time it gets to that point, the bearing is plumb shot. So I always put a bunch of extra grease inside the hub, especially because these aren't greasable spindles. Set your bearing in the top. We're just going to pick this all up. Set it on the spindle. Make sure our bearing goes in. It's just as simple as that, guys. Once I get the washers and stuff, I can put them on. Get that bearing, get the preload set, and we'll be good. So now what you want to do is just take some brake cleaner, clean part on your rag, and just clean up your brake surface. Because any grease or oil on your brake pads, it'll impregnate the friction material, and then it'll actually make it swell, and it'll make it slippery. It will make it so it's not really friction material anymore. I'll get the rest of the bearings packed, get the other one set up similar to this. Once we get the nuts and washers, we'll get the preload set on them, and we'll get them installed. Lower ball joint time. Sorry about that, it's just the boss texting me. Look at that. That was outrageously easy. Grease nipple in the bottom. We'll just double check with a ratchet here. Put that on silent. Simple as that. Ball joints in. Let's throw this spindle on. As you can see, it just falls off because there's no spindle nut kit. Nuts, washers, any of that stuff. Holy crap, it's starting to come together finally. Beautiful. Cotter pins are in. Give them a good grease and they'll be good. So next, see if this tie rod end even comes close to being the right size. When I did my research for the disc brake swap using factory parts, it said that they wouldn't fit, so I did order new ones to change them. So like I said, these are just temporarily together for now. There. I'm not going to bother with this cotter pin because I'm going to change this anyway. It's probably only going to make one trip to town and that's it. But now we got a spindle on. Next step, get this caliper mount I got to get from a junkyard. I've got calipers on order and the spindle nut kits. One caliper should be there on Monday, so tomorrow. And the other one's back ordered, I don't know how long. And then hopefully my spindle nut kits show up at the same time. But we'll just slide this back on top. Geez, that's starting to look good now. Now I got to do all this on the other side.